Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome back to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and happy holidays. It's a great time of the year. Families get together, friends, families celebrate, communities get that feeling. You know, that beautiful feeling that comes at this time of the year. It's a little bit cold, but the warmth of friendship, collaboration, and looking back upon really what we've accomplished the whole year, it comes over the whole country. And so tonight, we organize a special show for you because it has to do with a family who's worked tirelessly to change the New York area and to establish a program that brings that to communities, that brings hope, that brings change and opportunity. And in this time of the year where we look for New Year's resolutions, we look at what should come in the future, this will be a great example of what a family has done and continued, not for themselves, but for the community. And so it's our pleasure tonight, and engineer, if you put his pictures up on the screen, we'll introduce to you our guest. There you see him, Mr. Phillip L. Rucker, who is the heir to the Holcombe Rucker basketball tournament's 7-decade legacy. It's so well known amongst NBA players, professional athletes, and the Rucker basketball tournaments really were the equivalent of the Negro Leagues in baseball. It was new, it was an innovative feature. It was the first summer basketball tournament organized in world history. His father, Holcombe Rucker, was a pioneer, not only of this, but of after-school programs. He realized that if he could bring discipline and sports along with the school academics, that he could save young kids and give them a future. He sent over 700 athletes to the HBCUs in our country and to other universities. He was an entrepreneur and a visionary who actually used his own resources, his own funds, to fuel his dream. And he left that dream and legacy to his son, Phillip, who's here with us tonight. Mr. Rucker founded Fundamental Community Solutions, crafting projects that improve the quality of life in Black and brown communities. As a teenager, his father left him to direct one of the greatest high school tournaments that included such greats as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the DeWitt Clinton Boys High, Taft, Commerce, Evander Childs, Rice, with Dean Meminger, Morris, and Power Memorial High Schools, along with his own Phillip Rucker basketball team. He was the owner of that team, a player, a coach, and a commissioner of that tournament. At 16 years of age, he went on to become the co-founder of the Jackie Robinson Center for Physical Culture in Brooklyn, New York. And there on the screen, you see his friend, Bobby Hunter, Harlem Globetrotter. And then you see him on the screen again in an event we did to raise awareness against the danger of illicit drugs. During the crack epidemic, he mentored 5,000 children annually. And out of those children, what he did, he's transformed them into dancers, into artists, into players, into cheerleaders, into professionals, saving their lives. He founded Adopt the Block program and organized 10 associations from the New York City Housing Authority and worked with them and the local presidents, holding events to bring much needed health care to those residents in public housing. And Buddha, if you will, if you bring him up live, we want to bring up Mr. Phillip Rucker to A Time for Truth show. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, my friend. How you doing there, Dr. Ben?
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm doing very well.
Okay. We haven't seen each other for quite a bit, a couple of weeks.
You've been a busy guy. You've been undertaking a lot of things.
Almost as busy as you, Dr. Ben. Almost as busy as you.
Well, I don't know. I've been seeing you've been doing a lot of things. And, you know, I know our viewers heard so much about the Rucker legacy. Yes. What I wanted to ask you, so we can start out with you first.
Sure.
What was it like for you as a young, teenager, young boy, whatever, with your father? This is a strong personality. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was, the best way to describe it was like living in a Alice in Wonderland or the Wizard of Oz or the Wiz, or it was a dream, but it was my life. So I didn't know any better.
It's an amazing life.
Yeah, it was extremely amazing life. Sleeping on benches in the park in the summertime till midnight. My mother was not happy.
Well, you know what? I would think probably also that your father, with all he accomplished, being so organized, he must. How was he as a disciplinarian? Tell me.
Well, I don't want you to think that I was abandoned in the park, Dr. Ben.
I know you were. No.
We had Bobby Hunter watching over me, and Bob McCullough, and many other people. I was not abandoned in any kind of way. I was the most safe child in Harlem.
Well, you were mentored, right?
I had the greatest mentors in New York City. The people I had mentored, the people that mentored me, have mentored great men and women since then. So, and they all came from my father as disciples, and they have transformed New York City, and it's been used as a model for our nation. And it's American as apple pie.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you a question. Your father, from what I've read and seen, actually had many, many NBA or pre-NBA players who went on to the NBA, like Dr. J, play in your league. Is that right?
Yes. Well, he actually, what he did, he started with some earlier pros, people that might be well known, like Wilt Chamberlain, people that might be well known, like Guy Rogers. They had Satch Sanders from the Boston Celtics. They had Jumpin' Jackie Jackson. He could reach the top of the backboard and take the quarter off the top of the backboard.
Unbelievable.
So we had some some players. Before then, you know, with Naismith, they had the peach basket.
Yeah.
And then they had the dirt courts, and they would take like ribbons, like the women's ribbons,
Yes.
and make the lines on the court. And my father, when he came along, you had things like dunking the basketball, all of a sudden going behind your back, shooting long range shots, and flare. And the white ball players from the NBA would come to play in the universities, because a lot of universities were frozen out. They would come to play at the Rucker.
At that time, there was no integration, right?
Yeah. Remember the great Kentucky game against Texas Western?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it sort of broke the color barrier because Kentucky, they didn't want white ball players there. But after that, Rupp, the coach of Kentucky, he relented and allowed black ball players. Well, those ball players, they played in Rucker tournament that were on that team.
Wow. You really changed history, because that really
Yes.
made an impact on the country.
Yes, it made an impact on the country. But the whole thing was, my father had black friends, he had white friends. Like Lou Conaseca, St. John's University.
Sure.
It was a pipeline to HBCUs and a pipeline to many of the East Coast universities also, as well as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar went out and played at UCLA, as you know.
That's right.
So we also began interstate competitions, which, by the way, we're going to bring that back.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, but you don't
Nice.
you don't want me to divulge that now, do you, Dr. Ben?
You know, we'll keep it secret if you want, no problem.
Okay, but yes, we're working on that ever since Rucker Park got landmarked, national landmark, Dr.
That's right.
Ben. And the person, you know how that happened?
I heard that, what was it, that one of the congressmen, Espaillat?
Espaillat.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what happened was Bobby Hunter, mutual friend,
Harlem Globetrotter.
Harlem Globetrotter, president of Harlem Globetrotters.
That's right.
Well, Bobby Hunter, he took it on himself to take the lead on that.
Right.
And I took it on myself to take the lead on that. And what I did was I got together with the three Holcombe Rucker Park families that are the kings and queens of Rucker Park.
Let's mention them to give them credit. You know, I always
Oh.
give you credit. Let's go ahead.
I would be remiss to not mention them. So that was of course Rucker,
Okay.
and then it was McCullough.
Bob McCullough.
Bob McCullough, you met him.
Yeah.
And Each One Teach One. And then after that, it was Each One Teach One at Rucker Park.
Okay.
And then it was Greg Maris.
Okay.
And Greg Maris had the Entertainers Basketball Classic at Rucker Park.
Okay.
Those, and of course, I also was part of that. I had the Phillip Rucker basketball tournament at Rucker Park myself, pro league.
Right.
But so the three families, when I came back out after almost 30 years, reason why it wasn't that I jumped off the ship or something like that. It was the fact that my mother and my sons were involved in the legacy, and they were doing the best that they could, and they did good.
Right.
But it needed me to come back and make things, solidify things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a series of dinners at the regular Harlem restaurants and Sylvia's, and we made sure we got the most public spot so people could see the families were together. And I had a friend, I call him my son, my white son.
Right.
His name
Who was that?
Zach Solomon
Okay.
Miller. And he helped us with that too. And Kenyatta Hughes. And we wound up going from there and to agreeing that we would work together. And we worked together so well through thick and thin, hardship and pain, and put history aside, that we had that might not have been what we really had kept us apart for so many years. And we got the park landmark. Bobby Hunter, myself, Bob McCullough's son, Bob Jr., and Stacy Marius, Greg Marius' sister.
Right.
We went to Washington, D.C.
We Congressman Espaillat.
That was with SBI.
We really should give him credit because a lot of times politicians do a lot of verbiage and speeches, but he did action.
Congressman Espaillat, mi amigo.
It's a great thing he did because you know what?
Great.
It's so important. One of the things in our country that I am a big believer in, I see Congressman Espaillat also, and you, Bobby Hunter, is preserving traditions that have helped to establish foundations.
Yes. It's important because it gives our citizens, our children, parameters, social economic parameters to follow to better them, their own individual lives, as well as the community around them. And maybe even stop the scourge of drugs along the way. Dr. Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you and I worked a lot with that, along with Bobby Hunter.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you mentioned that last year, as Phil said, we lost 112,000 Americans. And, you know, one of my friends said, you know, Dr. Ben, it's not how many. Yes. Because whatever family loses their son or daughter, that number was unimportant, whether it was 10 or a million, they lost their son and daughter.
Yes.
You know, and it's horrible. I mean, you know who, actually Mayor Adams, who I want to laud because he's been really looking at this recently, he said the same thing, you know? Yeah, he said that, you know, it's not a number. And he realized with that shooting of that CEO.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Another shooting that happened in one of the schools.
The healthcare scandal.
That's right. He came out, I think about 2 weeks ago, had an interview, and he's looking at that. So, you know, it's interesting when we do the show.
Yes.
You know, Mayor Adams, here you got Phil Rucker, you got Bobby Hunter, who's not here, who's a globetrotter. You got Lloyd Williams, who runs the Harlem Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And you know what? We all are with you to do sports, put on some kind of basketball with drug education. We've been doing that in the country of Honduras. We did it down in Orlando with the World Conference of Mayors, who's run by Mayor Johnny Ford of Tuskegee, Alabama. And, you know, that whole group is totally there. So, you know, we laud you and let us know. I mean, Phil is here. Phil, what kind of message would you like to send to the mayor? Because I know he's probably been watching our shows. And what would you like to say to him?
Well, the first thing I would like to say to him is, can I get an audience?
Okay. A time with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? Here we are. We've got a drug education program in 22 languages. We got Rucker brand and legends that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dr. J, so many of the NBA players who've gone through there. And you got the Globetrotters that are going all over the country still. We're here. You know, good friend of ours, Earl the Pearl.
Yes.
He's totally for it also. So we're here for you, Mayor. You know, we're here for the city. And with that vein, tell us a little bit, you know, like when you held those Rucker Park games, Bobby Hunter told me that people were all over the buildings. Tell us a little bit about that. They were on the roofs. And
well, I was with the Dr. J period. I was on the scores table and in charge of the scores table. The people were on top of there was a school there. And that school, they had the children on top of and the community on top of the buildings, hanging out the windows. They were draped in the trees. They were on top of the fences. The fences didn't collapse, thank God for that.
That's right.
But you couldn't do it today. But wow.
Packed.
Jam-packed. And we gave him his name, Dr. J.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. We give everybody names. We have, if you do something special.
Yeah.
You do something great and do something wonderful, you get a name. But we also give names. I do anyway. I give names to women who have done things great, but there's a secret names for them. They know their names, and those names are because of the greatness that they produce. Because Rucker women have been overlooked. That's why when I first came in, I mentioned my chief operating officer, because I didn't want her being overlooked.
Right. Because
as we reorganize, we have so much on the plate, and that's enormous and almost overwhelming, and the fantastic the fantastic changes we can make in society immediately. So I brought her on to be my chief operating officer. Her name is Rosalind Shepard. And I want people to respect her because I can't do it all by myself.
Well, I know, you know what? I know that if you brought Rosalind Shepard on board, knowing you're a man of tremendous heart, understanding. You're very serene. I like to always look at you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's the truth, man. You know, I always look at you. You know, my producer, I call him a Dominican Buddha. And like you say, that at Rucker Park, they give nicknames. So I realized that I should probably, on a Time for Truth show, give you your nickname. And I'm going to call you the Rucker Buddha.
Oh, my goodness. I accept the honor. Thank you very much, Dr. Ben.
You know what? And I know that Bob McCullough, Bobby Hunter, Lloyd Williams, anyone who knows you, that you really are the Rucker Buddha. I know your father would be really happy. I know when I first met you,
Yes.
and I met you in Brooklyn,
Yes.
and you had that basketball tournament you were having with those young guys that you helped.
Yes.
So we came there with Ryan and his
Yes.
chosen crew, the Tumblers.
Yes, and they spoke to the children about gang violence.
That's right.
About drugs. You and I stood there.
That's right.
Matter of fact, we even had somebody had spoken up and didn't want me talking to the white man that day.
You told me.
Yeah, I tell you. I told him, no. I said this man came here to help us, and we're going to see about sticking this out, because we had 150 kids that were listening to them about the drugs, and the coaches wouldn't let those kids leave because they were telling us about gang violence, about murder, about drugs, and about the fact that they got out and I changed their life. But some of them were founders of that gang.
Wow.
Even.
Wow.
But yet, those kids needed to hear that. And you, being a white man, and I being a black man, we stood together that day.
That's right.
And let those kids hear that story.
They saw an example. They saw the reality. I remember when we were there that day, they were looking, and they couldn't quite understand. But then by the end, they had really changed.
Yes. And I'd like to say this too about you, Dr. Ben. Thank you for never ever trying to get me to be something I'm not. I appreciate that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a compliment back. You've always been serene.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. You've always looked, and your viewpoint is really for the community.
Yes.
And so you know what? Let's not make the show about me. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So you go from there, and then you actually did something that's very important in underserved areas, because you went with New York City Authority, I think, and you then went and did some type of healthcare program. Is that right?
Yes. We have a healthcare program that is coming up. We don't want to divulge it now because my chief operating officer there, Rosalind, she's in charge of pulling that together now.
Right, but the thing is, you also did one earlier in time too, right?
Yes.
What tell me about that one first. we're going to keep this other one secret, but tell me about what you did already, because it's not like you're an amateur, you're a pro at this. So what was it that you did originally?
With the healthcare?
Yeah, with the healthcare, with the housing authority, right? Or?
Yes, as a New York City Housing Authority, I left a national example youth program that I helped co-found because I wanted to get into the nitty gritty.
Okay.
And so I had something called Adopt a Block, and we were partnered with Brooklyn Perinatal Network.
Okay.
And that was and what they were doing was trying to keep down childhood deaths.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Uh-huh.
And injuries, and they also dealt domestic violence. I was the only man working there. Used to have to pad in. We had a padded room for the women that hadn't been charged with domestic violence. Had to come in there quietly, and so they could see there was a man that was non-threatening.
Uh-huh.
But what we did was we brought the basketball out there.
Right.
We brought the youth tenant associations
Okay.
under the tenant association, and then I had them sworn in by the New York City Police Department.
Yes.
And then we had cotillions, and then we brought the health care to the housing developments and projects. And what we were able to do, like by doing that, we was able to have the residents actually participate. They participated because they knew who we were with the youth tenant associations, youth block associations, and therefore this is something that we're getting ready to do, something similar.
In Harlem, right?
Oh, we're not going to tell you, Dr. Ben.
Oh, you can't tell.
But what we're going to do is
Okay.
we're going to use the same concept. I'll give you a clue. You saw the picture of Bobby Hunter, the character?
Absolutely, yeah. So right in there, okay.
Well,
so people are gonna have to watch the show, and you know,
we'll
see.
We'll see. But
I want to give you a compliment because you said something, and in today's world, we lose track of what's going on. Is you actually let people get involved.
yes,
You let them make it their program.
Yes.
You realize that, people don't like a handout. They want to actually be involved. They want to control it.
Yes.
They want to direct it.
Yes.
And I want to laud you because you're also way ahead of your time because you were protecting women way before it became popular now in the last 5, maybe 10 years.
Yes, I was. I had a bad experience at the Rucker tournament. I had a female commissioner. She was the first pro basketball female commissioner in history. And I allowed myself to let her go because she was a woman. And she cried. And I cried because I was so weak. And since that time, it's not going to happen anymore because she had earned that spot.
Right.
And she had earned that glory, and she didn't get it. But when we make mistakes, we need to learn from them.
That's right.
And so I learned from that. And today, I have over here my Chief Operating Officer, Rosalind Shepard, who represents what was lost decades ago, that I made that mistake. I have a board of directors where 80% of them are women. I believe in the Marriott sisters that hold the Entertainers Basketball Classic Rucker Park. I believe in them. But more than that, I believe in the American people. I believe in my people, my African American, black race. I believe in that. I believe in the Spanish people. I believe in the American dream. Rucker goes everywhere. And it's not for me to mess that up. It's for me to enhance that.
Right. Well, you know what? I think, because we're getting to the end of the show, and we...
Oh, Dr. Ben, come on, man. We could do this all day.
We could, man. But you know, we're going to have you back.
Yes, sir.
We'll have to have you back.
Okay.
And we'll have you back. I think what we're going to do is have you back with Bobby Hunter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we'll have a few. We'll have a few of us here. I've been having shows because I realize, we should have like a community show, and the people have loved it.
Okay.
They really enjoyed it. We can have you back. But I want to make a statement at the end of this show. You see what Phil Rucker is talking about. I don't know anybody who's perfect on this planet. I don't think there is anyone who is. But we have to start appreciating life. I say something, it's very simple, but it's so important. We're so lucky. Every spring, right now it's cold, the plants are going to come back.
Yes.
The trees are going to bloom. They're going to give us oxygen.
Right.
The flowers are going to come up. Regardless of what color the flower is, they all work together. And when you see that the flowers do that, and you get a rainbow from the rain, that there's a beautiful feeling that comes across in life. Let's, this year, with Phil Rucker of, Holcombe Rucker, legend, all those great players. Wilt Chamberlain said something that I want to quote here that Michael Jordan mentioned. When he met Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain said, Michael, you know what? It's not about the game of basketball. It's about the game of life. When you go out, be good to people, because life is about people. Honor them and they're going to honor you. Let's take Wilt Chamberlain's statement, who played on the Globetrotters, who played at Rucker Park with Phil Rucker here. Let's respect each other. Let's realize the miracle of life. Let's not take it for granted. Even families themselves argue. Let's realize in the end we love each other. We need each other. And when it gets cold,
yes,
baby, it's cold outside, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, now.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Is there any final comment you want to leave the viewers, Mr. Rucker, before we end?
Yes, the final comment I want to leave is that we need to get help from people like yourself, Dr. Ben, and others in the future, and hopefully we will get that help.
Absolutely. And to all of you out there, in a few days, it'll be 2025. Have a great new year. Let's take a look at this man's family's example. Let's take it for what it is, a way of doing something great. When you help your community, you get it back. Have a great holiday. Have a very good night. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Good night.
Good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fear